Hello again, everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this week's homework assignment. There's nothing in Python to actually program big O, but we can actually get a count of how many seconds it takes to do a process. The textbook mentions the clock function in Python, which claims is the way to measure the time it takes to do a process. Now, the clock function will show up in the quiz this week, so be sure and know what the clock function is. But as it turns out, I tried using it in programming, and it's obvious the author was using a way earlier version of Python. The clock function is still here. When I tried to use it, it really didn't get much. It didn't seem to work like it was supposed to. I found different ways to measure time. So let me show you what I did. First, I imported these two packages, time and time it. Right? Now, and further, what I've done here in this program is I've created a two-dimensional list. Now, look at this. This creates a 2D list that has 4 rows and 4 columns, all 1s in the first row, all 2s in the second row, and so on. If you want to do that, here's a shortcut way of doing it. For the first row, you put the number 1 within square brackets, and then you do times 4. Now, this times symbol, this asterisk, is not there for multiplication. It's a repetition operator. We use this a lot in lists in Python. So this will create a row of 4 1s. This one will then, on the second row, will create a row of 4 2s. The third row will have a row of 4 3s. And the fourth row will have a row of 4 4s. Little shortcut notation in Python. Now, there are 2 functions I found that will measure time of a process. The way you use them is like this. Here's the first one. I'm setting a variable called start because I needed a name. And it's equal to this. Out of the time package, I'm calling the method performance counter or perf counter like this. It's spelled as the way you see here. And then I'm going to call a function called show me the list. I'm passing my two-dimensional list, the number of rows, number of columns. When that function is finished, I have another variable named end, and I'm setting it equal to time.performanceCounter minus my start variable. So the performance counter method, I guess, grabs the system time whenever you call it. It grabs the current system time. And we're able to get the elapsed time by using a variable to get the value of the counter of the system time when we start, and a second variable to get the system time when we end. And then we do the subtraction. And then the first time we run this, there is my output. There's my 4x4. And it says, show me the list took that many seconds. So basically, it's like 9.9 times 10 to the minus 5 seconds. Pretty fast. The other way to do it is to use this function. I reset start equal to this. Time it dot default timer, which apparently works the same way as performance counter does. So there I call default timer before I call my function. And I'm calling it again right here when I'm done calling my function to get the total elapsed time. As you can see, default timer says it took a little less. 7.8 times 10 to the minus 5, as opposed to 9.9 times 10 to the minus 5. Second time, it ran a little faster. Just to review, here is the show me the list function, which looks very similar to what I did in the previous video. I have nested for loops, one for rows, one for columns, and I'm printing all elements of the list. Then when I finish each row, I go to the next line. When I finish the entire list, I go to the next line again. So we have some gaps in here. So there you have your 2 functions that you can use to measure performance in seconds in Python. There's the performance counter function, and there is also the default timer function. Default timer comes from the time it package, and performance counter comes from the time package. If you have any questions, please send me an email at kmuldrow@lbcc.edu.